Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the Miami Heat get the victory in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, 118-107. And the Boston Celtics are, well, they are in a space where they've got a couple key players missing, and I think that directly contributed to what we saw from them tonight. It wasn't that people played horribly or anything of that nature. It was a close game. Both teams showed up. Both teams played with a certain level of physicality. I think the carryover from the Boston Celtics meshed with the rest from the Heat was very evident in this first game. Carryover in a sense to where the Boston Celtics were able to get out to a fast start, bringing the intensity that they had from the previous game to this one. And the rest with the Heat was something that was evident to me because as they got off to the slow start, they were able to make adjustments in game that allowed them to immediately jump up to a big lead based on the fact that they had fresher legs. So they were able to take advantage of some things that, you know, the Boston Celtics were trying to adjust to with players missing from the lineup. Jaylen Brown played well in terms of driving at the basket, hitting tough shots. You got to give credit to Jason Tatum, of course, in a losing effort, even though he missed a lot of shots out there and some of the assignments he was trying to defend, guys got some shots over him. Ultimately, he played tough. You give credit to Robert Williams because he went 5 for 5 in the game to start the game and got them out to that fast start. But ultimately, it was the Miami Heat were the ones that got the victory, and you got to give credit to the winners, of course. Jimmy Butler was the difference. He was just simply the difference. When you look at the stats, the one thing that stands out was that the Miami Heat were able to basically win this game at the free throw line. There's all the other stats, 3-point shooting, rebounding, field goal percentage. All of those other stats are pretty comparable. And even to the degree, the fouls. The two teams fouled just the same. But it was Jimmy Butler's aggression that gave him free throws. It was his aggression at the rim that made it so that they had to call fouls to give him free throw shots, and he hit them. 17 out of 18, if I'm not mistaken. That was the difference. When you have Jimmy Butler go for 41 points and he also contributes 4 steals, that's way too much production from one player. And then you can still consider the type of game Gabe Vincent had tonight, where he had 3 blocks, had a plus 23 on the game. I think he contributed 17 points. Just spectacular role player for this team. You think about Victor Oladipo and how well he played tonight. PJ Tucker and how valiant his effort was fighting through that foot injury, limping around but playing well. I think the one thing that made it really evident to me that I've was on the right track with the Heat was how quickly they closed out to the 3-point line. They close out at a speed that I haven't seen at all in these playoffs. Even they weren't closing out as fast as they were in this game throughout these playoffs. I don't know what got into them. Maybe it was the rest. Maybe it was some extra practice time. I don't know. But they were closing out and guarding the perimeter as well as any team I've seen this year. Just period. They played the perimeter to perfection tonight. And it wasn't that the Boston Celtics shot it poorly. They just contested it well. They really did. Bam Adebayo was spectacular defensively as well. This was a block party tonight. You're talking about 12 blocks on the Miami Heat side, and I think 8 from the Boston Celtics side. So it was a lot of blocks tonight. And as I said, these two teams played a close game. If it weren't for Jimmy Butler's getting calls at the rim, this game's probably an overtime game. There's nothing that separates these two teams at all, really, in the stats. Nothing at all. One more rebound here, one more field goal there. Like, it's really nothing that separates them. Not even the fouls. It was just the type of fouls that were called for the Heat. And the person who was making all of that happen was Jimmy Butler. When you consider how many foul shots his team shot, he accumulated for more than half of them, I'm sure. More than half of them. And he did not shoot threes. He only attempted 2 3-point shots, which is key, because I said one of the things that I don't love about Jimmy is the fact that he has the green light shooting the 3-point shot, and he tends to fall in love with it, and it takes possessions away from his team. When you consider the inefficiency of some of the other players that they have, they can't afford him, their main scorer, to have poor shot selection. Well, not only did he take that to a next level, but he overdid it because he didn't attempt any threes at all. But it was exactly the way he needed to play the game tonight. It was the way to attack, and they got the victory because of him, in my opinion. It was a lot of team defense that was excellent. Like I said, they closed out to that perimeter was amazing. The way that Spoelstra set things up defensively for them tonight. I thought the rotations were fantastic tonight for Spoelstra. The way he used his roster, the way he called on certain people to do certain things at certain times, I thought he ran it to perfection. And he left the Celtics confused, man. They were yelling at each other. You saw guys bickering at the bench and stuff like that. They left that Celtics team, who just dominated the NBA champions in a Game 7, looking like they didn't have an answer for the Miami Heat tonight. And that's after coming out to a fast start against the Heat. So I'm telling you, I feel good about my Heat pick. This team looked fantastic tonight. And it wasn't because they shot well or anything like that. It was because they stayed true to what it is that they do. They played defense. Defense turned into offense for them. Forcing steals, blocking shots, getting to the line, making the game physical, and ultimately using their depth to their advantage. They used everybody they needed to use, and they made sure that they always had the matchups in their favor that they wanted on the floor. Jimmy Butler was just hawking out there. He was scoring on any and everybody, and of course, because he was able to get to the line as many times as he did, he kept them in foul trouble. He kept them at a disadvantage with the lineups and the rotations that they could use. He controlled that by constantly putting pressure on the rim. So, maybe they call the game differently. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the calling card for the Boston Celtics, is to complain about how Jimmy got to the line 18 damn times. But ultimately, I thought that he was forcing the issue. He was forcing it. He was getting to the line. He was taking the contact, and making it so that they had to adjust in midair. You couldn't get verticality when he's doing all kind of contortions, scoop shots and up and unders and stuff like that. I mean, it was a lot of that, a lot of tough shots, a lot of trick shots attempted, a lot of guys suspended in midair with bodies underneath them so you could fall and twist your ankle. It was too much of that tonight, man. Way too much of that. Guys, they got a lot of pogo sticks on both teams. Robert Williams and Bam Adebayo. So these guys got to be very careful when they get off the ground. Be careful what you're landing on, because it was too many sequences tonight where I thought guys could have got hurt. Grant Williams took a lot of punishment tonight. He and Bam Adebayo collided in a way that was kind of scary. Grant Williams kind of shook it off and kept playing, but boy, is he gonna feel that when somebody comes down on the back of your neck the way that he did. And they had full force collision. Both of them felt it. It was like, the impact was not normal. So I just think that ultimately you're looking at two teams that beat each other up tonight. And I think that's going to reverberate throughout the series. I think injuries are already a problem in this series. PJ Tucker's banged up. Marcus Smart's banged up. Grant Williams is banged up. Robert Williams is banged up. Al Horford is missing. Kyle Lowry is missing. This is what this series is about. Who is going to make it through this series? It's too physical, and the teams are starting it unhealthy. That's what I see there. Both teams are starting their series already beat up. I think it does favor It does favor the Miami Heat because they are the deeper team. And they've played less basketball thus far. And the fact that they got the first game and kept home court advantage, took that punch in the mouth that came from that carryover from the Boston Celtics winning Game 7 the way that they did, I think the Miami Heat are fully in the driver's seat right now. Fully. And I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown got to go back to the drawing board. And when they get there, they're going to find out that what they draw up is going to be adjusted too quickly. Because one thing I found out tonight is that Eric Spoelstra is probably the best I've seen thus far this season at making in-game adjustments. The Boston Celtics got out to a quick start with Robert Williams. He got out to a 5-5 start. What did Spoelstra do? By the time the end of the second quarter came around, all of that, he had put it into all of that. Bam Adebayo had already gotten into the game, blocking shots, and just completely just ended that. And that's the type of thing that's going to help them win this series. The fact that they can do that. A lot of teams have a hard time stopping the bleeding. A lot of teams have a hard time identifying what's wrong and how to fix it. Spoelstra doesn't have that problem. He's good at that, and his roster can get the job done. So it's all about him plugging up the holes that he sees. So if you find something that works, understand that that's coming. That is coming. He lets you know early in the series that he's gonna plug up whatever holes he sees. So the Heat are in firm control of this series early on. Obviously, it's really early, but the Celtics are just, they're not healthy, man. They got beat up too bad in that Milwaukee series, in my opinion. They needed to get this first game in this series, to snatch home court advantage and to buy themselves some time. Potentially buy themselves some time, because what you don't want to have happen is you're sitting here waiting for Marcus Smart to get healthy, waiting for everything to fall into place for your roster, waiting for Al Horford to get back, and you look up and you're down 0-3 in the series. That's what's going to probably end up happening to this team if they don't snatch one of these first two games. Because they're not going to get any less tired as the series progresses. They're going to play every other day until this series ends. That's why the early rest that the Miami Heat have had, it matters so much, because ain't going to be getting none no more. Ain't going to be no rest for either one of these teams. And one of them played 7 games into a series against Giannis. So I just don't like the Celtics in this situation. I think Jason Tatum in this series is going to be asked to do more than he's able to do. Honestly, I think a lot of people are expecting him to be Jason Tatum for Game 7 or Game 6, whatever that big game was for him in this last series. And I don't think he can do that against this defense that is focused and wired to stop him. And they know that he's going to take the most shots on any given night, which is something Udoka is going to have to do something about. Because I can tell you right now, y'all were a bit predictable tonight. And I know that has a lot to do with the fact that Marcus Smart wasn't out there. Horford wasn't out there. I get that. That ultimately is why y'all lost this game, probably. But y'all have to find more versatility within yourselves. It can't just be Jason Tatum jacking up 20 shots. The Miami Heat know that's coming. They simply know that's coming. So that's one thing I see. Also, as great as Gabe Vincent looked tonight, the one thing that I saw the Boston Celtics have success with early on against him was pressuring him when he has the ball in his hands. He's not the greatest ball handler. There may be some success there if you pressure those ball handlers if you're the Celtics. You got to press up on them dudes, challenge them to be a dribbler. Because ain't nobody out there, no Kyrie Irving, for that Miami Heat team. They will cough the ball up. That I know. Until Kyle Lowry gets back and is 100%, they are always at risk to cough the ball up. Just got to pressure them. I think also, I'm just looking at the Boston Celtics situation. They're going to, Daniel Tice looked great tonight on the defensive end. I think he did some good things offensively. He's going to have to be big in this series. You're going to need him to be outside of himself until Al Horford gets back. He's going to have to be out. He's going to have to be better than ever. And I think, to be honest with you, you can count on him to play well. I do believe that. He's solid, man. If I had to be stuck in a situation like this, I could think of a whole lot worse players I'd like to be stuck with in that situation. So I'm confident he'll hold it down. Peyton Pritchard started off this series very well. I think they should continue to utilize him. He could shoot, man. I know he didn't have the greatest series last series, but Game 7 he looked great, and Game 1 he looks good tonight. So keep him in rotation. If he's coming into his own, he's not going to get any worse from here. Only better from here for Peyton. That's the beauty of having young players who are ascending in talent. Yeah, they suck today a little bit, but tomorrow they'll be a little better, and they're going to get better and better and better and better no matter what, as long as they don't get hurt. So, yeah, believe in Peyton Pritchard. I think he's going to get better, and he's going to become more consistent. And the absence of Marcus Smart for him is a great thing for a multitude of reasons, of course, for his usage. So yeah, I like Aaron Naismith. They're going to continue to use him defensively if they're seeing what I'm seeing out there. that's an asset that I'm not gonna just stash back into the back of the bench after how he came out and blocked shots tonight. His length is gonna help you defensively against this Heat team, even when Smart and Horford get back. Keep him in rotation. Yeah, man, Max Strus, man, I like what I saw out of him tonight. He got off to a slow start early, but he kind of rounded into form. He's just a guy who, because he exerts so much energy on the defensive end and on rebounding, tends to be very inefficient. So I just want him to pick his shots wisely. You know what I mean? Because if he's inefficient, he really takes a lot from the team despite all he does defensively. But when he's on and he's hitting shots, Miami Heat are unstoppable. Just simply unstoppable. Yeah, he's important. Tyler Hero. I like what I saw from Tyler Hero. His three-point shot wasn't necessarily falling, but he came in early and put up some points on the board, kind of withstood the Robert Williams early run. It was him that ultimately gave them the scoring that they needed, along with Jimmy Butler consistently throughout, that kept them above the fray when all of that was happening in the first quarter against them. So I think Tyler Hero got off to a good start in this series, and of course he's going to be continued to be relied upon to give them a scoring punch at all times. If he's having bad games, those are the games the Heat lose. Understand what I'm saying? If Tyler Hero is having a bad game, you can pencil that in for a Celtic win. They can't afford him to go 5 for 20 and stuff like that. That can't happen. They're going to need him to continue to do what he's been doing and also look for others because he is good at playmaking. I saw a little bit of that tonight. So that's my thought, man. That's what I gotta say. These two teams are even. Don't allow the score to lie to you. This was a tighter game than that. It simply was. Jimmy is not going to get those calls like that every night, especially not on the road. And if he continues to do that, he's going to wear down. Now, I know Jimmy Butler got a lot in the tank because I seen him in the bubble. I know what he can do. But that's the thing about Jimmy. He does wear down. So they're going to have to find ways of sneaking him some rest. Oladipo, Vincent, keep those guys in rotation. Sneak in some Duncan Robinson. Don't let his confidence fall off just because he's not the greatest defender. His defense is his offense. You know what I mean? We can't lose sight of what an asset a player is just because they have certain deficiencies that don't fit the system. They are a quality asset for what it is he can do for you. If you're in a situation where the game is 60-60, like let's say the score is 60-60 at the end of the third quarter, I'm putting Duncan Robinson in the game and I'm giving him the green light because he's the difference. Neither teams can score. I know he can. And that's what the Boston Celtics don't have. He is a very important weapon, and I know Spoelstra will know how to use him in this series. You're going to see Duncan Robinson have a 30-point game before the end of these playoffs. It's going to happen. So, that's what I think, man. That's what I think. Great start to this series. Very physical. Both teams are going to limp out of this series, and that does not bode well for them. But for now, they got to deal with each other. And, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing there. Spoelstra drew first blood. Everybody who's writing the Heat off, you saw a taste of what it is they can do. They have a multitude of weapons. They are a plethora of mercenaries. That's what they are. And they attack you defensively. They're not looking up to put up 100 million points. They're looking to keep you from doing so. And they have talented defenders. All this talk about the Boston Celtics defense, that's beautiful. I get it. But their defense has to score. That's the problem with the Celtics. The Heat don't have that problem. I just described it to you. They don't have that problem. But the Celtics have the same people who are supposed to be defending are the ones who are going to have to score in this series. And that could potentially be the downfall of this team. What went wrong with the Boston Celtics tonight? The same thing I tell you always happens to the Boston Celtics. They go on long scoring droughts. After they went on that hot start in the first quarter, the second quarter they started the quarter 0 for 7. That's what's wrong with that team. No matter how great Jason Tatum is, they inflate their superstar names. God bless them. I'm a believer in those players. But they are not consistent scorers, and they be disappearing throughout the course of a game. They start shooting those jumpers. Them legs start getting tired because they playing hard defense. Them shots don't fall, and them boys stop scoring. I'm telling you. I've watched enough of this Boston Celtics team to know exactly who they are. I know who they are. And while they got a lot going for themselves when they're fully healthy, They ain't fully healthy. So they're in trouble. Anyway, that's what I got. That is what I see there, man. The problem with the Miami Heat, if I'm going to be balanced and I'm going to tell you guys the truth, the problem with the Miami Heat is all them shots they hit tonight at home, they're not going to fall on the road. That's the problem with the Heat. That crowd was fantastic behind him, and they fed off of it. But if that crowd was wearing green, Vincent don't have that kind of night. Strus don't have that kind of night. You get the point? That's how it goes. If they can overcome that, this series don't even have to go 7 games. But I just feel like this, for every scoring drought that the Celtics have, the Miami Heat can have those droughts just the same. So that's what it is. That's the balance of it all. And this thing's going the distance in my mind because of it. So that's what I got. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.